I'm grateful to be here this morning, and I'm happy to be here this morning because the governor is here with me. Nasikia ni kama nimekuja reunion. Lakini before reunion, mtoto wa bishop tuombe tafadhali asubuhi ya leo.
Good morning. I'm happy to see you on the hot seat. This is when you appreciate what Gerard Bitok does from that seat. I've been on that seat. I know what it feels like.
Oh my God, it's not easy.
Shall we pray?
Amen.
Father God, we want to bless you this morning. We want to thank you as we start this show. We pray that you may start with us, and we should be careful to give you glory and honor as we come to the end. We pray for the viewers that are watching us. May you help them. May you bless them. May you see them through the day, and we give you glory and honor for doing that, dear Lord. In Jesus' name we thank you.
Amen. Well, my short and sweet. Tulisema 2021 at force.
Kuna kuforce vitu zinajileta tu.
It's been a minute. Hiyo minute ni kama ni 1 year.
No, you decided to disappear from the taco.
Why are you people saying I disappeared?
You decided to disappear from the taco, so it's been well. The tacos are good. Sisi tumekuwa hapa hatujetoka. We have been here. I know I have not been here for 2 weeks. I recently lost my 2 brothers-in-law and a niece in a Grease road accident. We laid the brothers-in-law to rest yesterday, and our niece will be laid to rest tomorrow at Gatanga in Murang'a County. And the show has to go on.
Yeah,
that's why we're here this morning.
Nilisikia walisema life is for the living.
Hata kuna mtu mwingine wa kutoka hii French yetu hii ya Central ameimba song ati ukikufa umepotea. Therefore if you are living, you have to do what is needful. You have to enjoy life. You have to give life your best. Yeah. Because you don't know what tomorrow holds for you. So I think for me it's all right. Life is for the living.
Yeah. I think at times we usually tend to say, oh, we lost that one before that time. They were so young. But mufikiria, if it's your day, it's your day. Kama time imefika by the way.
I'm telling you.
Your work on earth is done. You move on to the next stage, whatever the next stage happens to be. Yeah.
You know, sometimes you have all the reason to ask God. Like as we lost one of our brothers, Masharia was born in 1979. The other one was 1985. That tells you died at the age of that 6, leaving behind 2 kids that are below 5 years. But whatever God does has a plan for it. So we just let God be, and we do what we are supposed to do as human beings. And don't let time pass you without touching humanity in one way or the other. That's the only way people will remember you.
Very, very true.
Yes.
Wacha tusalimia tacklers hapa. Naona tuko na Steve Kim. Amen. Good morning from Ganza Sub-County. Salimia watu wa Ganza Sub-County sana. Kuna jina hapa imenishinda, my God. Is this cycling? Masai. Wow. Happy new month tacklers. Tuongeleeni mambo ya hawa wasewa kuwash na hawana car wash. Uko na mistari mtu wangu.
Lakini hiyo ni raini ya Edgar Obare.
Manze, just as Ruto Moi, good morning. Live from Embu, salimia watu wa Embu. Amon Biwot, good morning the tackle, watching from Eldoret. Paul Bitok, Gerald ako na namesake hapa. Anasema good morning the tackle and tacklers, watching the show from Merewet Village, Eldoret. Watu wa City of Champions. Good morning sana. We are happy to have you here. Amsha watu wa 5, amsha watu wa 10. Itaneni tukuje tupige story. Tell us where you're watching us from, and please tell us what being Kenyan means to you. Kukuwa Mkenya inamaanisha nini kwako? I've been asking this question since yesterday because I kind of feel like Wakenya hatuelewi ni nini inamaanisha kukuwa Mkenya. Governor, what does it mean to you to be a Kenyan?
I really don't blame Kenyans because the people we have the leaders that we have, and you know that every elected leader in this country operates on a delegated registration because the constitution says that the power, the supremacy of this constitution is vested on the people of Kenya, and they exercise it directly or indirectly. Now, the people we have indirectly elected to represent us have terribly failed in letting Kenyans know what is patriotism, because being Kenyan is number one, defined well by how patriotic are you to your country. What is patriotism? That would be the first thing. And you realize that most Kenyans, the only thing they are patriotic to is money. True. The only thing they are patriotic to is money, and money and more money and more money. They are not patriotic to fellow Kenyans. And that's why I had said earlier that do not let life pass you by without touching humanity, because me, I believe that one of the quality of being Kenyan is the coming together that we have witnessed in the past. And I saw another story. There was this kid that had a problem, and the medicine to cure that kid was going to almost 270 million.
Oh, this is baby Aya.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm telling you, for that 2 weeks, Kenyans have raised
fundraised
270 million shillings for that kid.
Yeah.
Now, if that is not a good definition of what being Kenyan is, I don't know. But I think for me that the unity of purpose, the patriotism is what defines you being Kenyan. Because the reason why we are proud as Kenyans is that whenever we have a problem, we are able to go beyond our political differences. We are able to go beyond our ideological differences, and we come together and make things happen. So for me, if you ask me, it is that humanity in us, it is the patriotism that defines me as a proud Kenyan. And everywhere I go, I am proud to say that I am from this beautiful, great country.
Nice. So patriotism to you.
Yes.
Governor amesema patriotism defines Kenya. And you've touched on something very important.
Yes.
The generosity of Kenyans.
Yes.
Tunakuanga na ako ka spirit kakupeana. Like we never just leave our own to suffer like that. If you come out and you have a problem, people will come out and give you whatever it is you need. Just look the case of Omosh. Isipokuwa huyo ni kama ameanza kuteka advantage ya kindness ya watu.
No, but now that you have brought up that subject, we are not in this country. We are not in the business of sorting out personalities, TV personalities who have wasted whatever they get out of it. I am sorry to say, because there is no way, as much as whatever play you do on TV or whatever show you do on TV, as much as Lucia does not pay you that much, it has exposed you to enough avenues to make money.
Yeah. Make
use of that money. Let us not have people who are living Raj. They are living everything they make every day. They will make 100,000 today and they will spend it all tomorrow. And when things go haywire, we are back at square zero trying to build your life well. And like other Kenyans, you had been provided an opportunity to actually do something with your life. So, issue your celebrities and TV personalities learning to come and say, help me. I mean, there are special circumstances where Kenyans can come and help.
Just hold that thought, because it brings us to the question of how we manage our finances. So just hold on to that thought. KARIUKI NGUNJIRI, good morning.
Yes, hi, good morning.
Salimia wa Kenya tafadhali asubuhi ya leo.
Yes, thank you very much. I came a few minutes late.
Yeah.
But the Englishman says it's better late than never. So I'm here and I want to say hi and acknowledge all those of Kenyans who are watching us in the country and in diaspora. From wherever they are, good morning. assalamu alaikum, and let us continue with these discussions. And to my brother here, Muchendu.
Yes, sir.
And you, the host. I think this is the first time that we converge here with you. The last time and the first time I was here, I was with Bidok. But I think that we will engage in a constructive debate.
Yes.
Great. It's great to have you here this morning. We have a comment from Silas Kiai. It says it means kudaiwa madeni mingi paka ata wenye hawajazaliwa. Oh my God.
That's being Kenya.
Silas, you're right. Edon Songok Rono. Good morning, Team Tackle. Tune in. Mungu mbele. Amen. Irene Gatwiri tuned. Habari yako Irene Gatwiri. Samson Mushiri tuned in from California. Good salimia watu wa California. My mom is tuned in to the show today. She's watching us from Dallas, Texas. Hi mother. Tunajaribu hapa sana. I hope sija kuangusha. So let's get into this conversation because I posed you at some point. Let's talk about financial responsibility, our capacity to manage our finances, because it's not just the case of Omosh, and I wouldn't lay the blame on his ability or lack of thereof to manage the finances. I understand the industry also has challenges, but the question of financial management is something that we never really talk about. We go to school and we are taught about all these things, but no one goes and says like, hey, look, adulting is tricky and bills are going to be waiting, and sometimes siyo pesa utakuwa unaionea view sasa.
You know, I think for me, is, as I have said, it's not really about the things happen. Shows you can be in a show, you can be in a business, you can be in something and it comes down. It is not really about why your business has come down. It is how prepared are you in case of anything, because if you're in business, you know eventualities will always come. Is your business insured? You have you done enough savings that if this business doesn't work, I can take my savings and do something else? I think this is the thing. You realize most of these people and celebrities we have been helping online, you realize that these people have not even invested on land. You see the case of Omoshe's ajenge anunuliwe apewe plot, anunuliwe. You know, let me tell you, today, I was when I used to live around a place called Mehango so many years ago, around 2009. That was in utoke Kayole, uluke Kwale, uende pahali naitwa Mehango. From Mehango ulikuwa unaenda Utawala, unaenda Githunguri, unaenda Syokimau. At 2009, Lucia, that place was blank. Utawala mzima ilikuwa tu na nyumba moja ya gorofa, ilikuwa ya former police boss, alikuwa anaitwa Mwadime. The entire Utawala was pure bush. Hakukuwa na kitu. The plots then there were being sold, I think, at around 65,000-70,000 those days. Githunguri, going to Roai, all the way to Mara, all those sides. And people, you can imagine people who bought plots there at 65,000 today. How much those places are worth now. Some of us, when we went to Ramu around a year ago, were buying an acre of land at 65,000 at Ramu. I'm just saying that the problem is not your business going down. That has never been the problem, because that is part of eventualities in business. What have you done to cover yourself when such eventualities come? And that brings us to the question of culture of savings in this country. And I think that, as I've said, the first people who have shown us that we are not in a position to save enough is the government of the day. Because if the government of the day has not introduced the cultures of saving, then you expect, because today, Lucia, some of the very expensive loans this nation has taken, it is from China. And you know, we take them from where? From Exim Bank. And Exim Bank is holding the savings of the people of China. The culture of savings in China, whatever China is lending to Africa, it is not government money.
Yeah.
It is money that is saved by the citizens of the People's Republic of China. And therefore, when you do not introduce the culture of saving in this country from the government perspective, because you see, these are Kenyans. Have you seen Kenyans running up and down to get vaccinated as if this vaccination came yesterday? So I'm just saying the government also has to actually be the first ambassador of the culture of saving. Why? Because if Kenyans can save enough, then it means this government does not have to borrow. I'll give you an example, and I keep on saying it here. The president of the Republic of Kenya is paid close to 2 million shillings. MUCHENDU here is paid 100,000. Both of us pay 400 shillings to NSSF. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense. Because if you introduce a culture that will apply and cut across between the private sector and the government, and you say that 3.6% of your salary goes to your NSSF, National Social Security Fund. That means if we can say around, because what you need to do is, the least paid person in this country gets paid 13,400 shillings and 420 shillings. That is the least paid government employee. That person pays some 400 shillings to NSSF and pays some 1,200 shillings to NHIF. Now, what you need to do, take the money that is paid by the least paid person, civil servant, convert what he pays to NSSF into percentage, and then make it a law that every person, regardless of how much you are paid, 3.6 or 4% of your salary goes to NSSF. That would automatically raise, if we are going by the workforce that is employed by government and what private sector has declared, we would increase the NSSF savings by a whopping 76 billion shillings a year. And that means that the government that is doing the Mau Summit expansion would not need to go and take a loan from outside the country. They would just walk into NSSF trustee, loan us the money, we will pay with an interest of 4.5. So that if Lucia was receiving 200,000 at her retirement, she will receive 250,000 because some government came and took your money and gave you some interest. And therefore, I think for me, it is the culture of saving in this country. Because I have seen these guys, I have worked with them, Lucia. Some of them, we are paying them for 1 gig. We pay them to a tune of 100,000. Come and do a gig. Tomorrow, you pay him today. Tomorrow, he is on an airplane going to spend the same money in Dar es Salaam or wherever. Then he comes 2 days to start now looking for another gig.
Karaoke, do you have something to weigh in on this matter? Especially because I'd say our legislators are always going for benchmarking. You know, they'll say, oh, the Asian tiger economies, wameenda Taiwan, wameenda South Korea. And then we come back to reality and we find that government borrows. But then they complain because apparently Kenyans borrowed a sum of 14 billion in a month from digital lenders. Where's the problem?
Well, I'm not an expert in finance, but I have over time been looking at this problem. And I think that for us as a country, we lack what I call some of the most important radical economic policy, and which will at least help us in making sure that we are able to generate our own economy from within. And that is why we talk of, for example, investing in areas like agriculture, which cuts across every other geographical setting within the country. And then number two, with agriculture, then you can elevate that to manufacturing. where you have agro-processing, and you can make sure that you are also creating now jobs through manufacturing, and that way I think you can be able to expand the number of people that are working. Again, you also look at issues of, for example, the ease of doing business here in Kenya, which will boost economic activity in the country, and the end goal will be to have as many people as possible at least making a meaningful livelihood. In the absence of that, that is when you find Kenyans are jobless and they don't have anything to resort to. The country will now be pushed to fund most of the activities of Kenyans, even sometimes going to an extent of providing social services which should be universal, but are rather converted to private and donor funding. Another thing, I also think that we have a problem of the curse of African aid, where, and this dates back to 1947, the African state, when the Bretton Woods conference was made, and we had, for example, firms like IMF. And there is a problem because people have always misquoted the way the Marshall Plan came to reconstruct Europe, and they think that that is the same philosophy that should be applied to countries that are suffering economically. My argument is that we need to withstand the forces of our own nature as a country that is growing out of our organic, normal, and the local metrics within the economy. The Marshall Plan, remember, only came to reconstruct only 1% after the devastating consequences of the Second World War. It wasn't coming to build countries that were not existing. They came to build industries, they came to rebuild what was already there. The people already were industrialized. Talk of the Industrial Revolution in Europe, it had already even escalated to the Americas. So when countries within the NATO allied sector came to reconstruct that, the Marshall Plan was not a philosophy that was supposed to be implanted to each and every country within the African continent. And so I think that as a country, we need to debunk that argument, and I think we need to pursue our own strategic economic interests through creation of our organic and local enterprise that can escalate us to getting as many people as possible being involved in economic activity. I think the biggest problem in Kenya is that so many people are idle, they don't have jobs, and the government has not resorted to coming up with labor-intensive projects, but rather seeks to every time do brick and mortar, what is called the capital-intensive projects. We have a problem with that in the country. And so those are some of the problems that even we who are in the Hustler Nation want to cure for Kenya. And I think that in less than 304 days, no ifs, no buts, that work will begin.
Let's get right into politics. Na tuangalie headlines za magazeti. So the Star says, why Raila allies are at war with Tycoon Wanjigi. Recently, Jimmy Wanjigi was on an interview on Citizen TV, I think, and he has expressed his interest to run for the presidential seat. Weigh in, KARIUKI. I'd like to start with you. What are your thoughts on this?
I think that, first of all, you have to be highly deluded to be Jimmy Wanjigi and think that you can actually become the president of the Republic of Kenya. I think that it's a beginning of a very funny joke to start discussing Jimmy Wanjigi in State House. But
why is it a joke? He's a Kenyan and he has a right to vie.
He's pursuing his democratic interests. He's free and has the freedom to pursue them like he wants. However, let me be clear. this country has a tradition ever since independence of having a certain culture of leadership. And it is not about to change. This culture is deeply entrenched in our hearts, in our minds, and in our day-to-day activities. For you to become president in Kenya, one, because of the complexity of the factors that influence the choices voters make on the ballot, you have one, for example, factor there called the tribal complexity. In the tribal complexity, you must be able to build a base within where you comes from, and within that also be able to build alliances with other people from other tribes that you think can be able to bring numbers. That way, you bargain and you can be able to build a strong alliances with other people from other tribes. Number two, you can rely on an existing political traditional institution, for example, the church. Within that organizational infrastructure, that ideology of religion and affiliating yourself with the church, because it's a huge entity within any republic, then you can build an alliance with the faithfuls and with those that follow religion. Number three, you can build an alliance within an ideology. For example, the one that we are selling to Kenyans right now, called the Hustler Nation ideology, where you cut across people who resonate with you. They are within the religion spectre, they are within the church spectre, but they think that being a hustler is something that they are proud of being associated with. Again, you can build a grassroots organization, and I come to my point number 4. You can build a grassroots organizational infrastructure through, for example, creating a certain age. In this age, you, for example, sell your candidature on youth, women, politics, and you can also bring it to diverse groups, which means that you can sell your candidature to, for example, being a person with disability or a minority within a democratic space. Those items are most likely to be the one that influences how we go into politics within a country like Kenya. But I want to assure you that in our country, there are only only two factors that seem to get across Kenyans' minds. One, the tribal complexity issue, and two, the ideological issue. Here, you have Jimmy Wanjigi, who I think has not in the past demonstrated that he can be able to marshal the people of Central from where he comes from and then join with others to build a coalition. Two, I don't think that he has an ideology for Kenya. I think he has a rich culture of rhetoric, and I listened to him speaking last Sunday, and the only thing I was able to get from him is that he has a very deep rhetoric, which I don't think means anything for the current problems that we face as a country. He's very capitalistic in nature. He doesn't look at the pressing needs that Kenyans are facing. So, with that small history, then you can be able to analyze and see whether Jimmy Wanjigi stands any chance. My argument is that as a person who has been in this country, he seeks now to maybe try to bargain for something within ODM, within the political space. Or rather, I think that he also thinks of vying for another position and not presidency. I think he might be using presidency as a springboard. Then, I'm also tempted to say that he is also coming here to do celebrity politics. I warn that it is not possible here in Kenya. I remember when Boris Johnson was elected as mayor of London, he came with some of these theatrics and thinking that because he comes from the world of, for example, doing business and being a celebrity, that he could make it. You see, to win an election in Kenya, there is something that you must do. Jimmy Wanjigi is famous. He's known by almost each and every corner in the country because of, for example, the gun saga and what was happening in 2017. However, for a strategic reason, to win an election, you must be able to convert your latent fame into popular political support. If you have read the book, A Man of the People, Chinua Achebe says that if you went to the city or you go to the village, Anata, where he was born, the people will tell you that he's a man of the people. So if you contrast Jimmy Wanjigi and being a man of the people, then I don't know which people he represents. Perhaps being maybe the chairman of Nyumba Kumi in Muthaiga. But I encourage him to run as a Kenyan, and I think that because we exist in a democratic society, he can pursue those interests. I don't think even ODM is taking him serious.
Mushendu, I want to throw in a spanner in the works. In 2002, I think if our friend here had been asked what are the chances of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta becoming president, he would have had almost similar sentiments. Na hayuko peke yake. But what do you think of this?
Well, I think for me, you know, Jimmy Wanjigi has been it's been a political player behind the scenes. It is said that because of his business interest, he also played a very big role in bringing William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta together because of the interest he has. But if you ask me, Jimmy Wanjigi only has one card in this, and it's not being elected or being a leader in this country. He's just expanding his bargaining chip. You realize that he's one of the people who lost big in business on SGR. And I think he feels that he needs to declare his interest for the presidency and twist those he's competing with into a negotiating table. And I think for me, it's purely Jimmy Wanjigi has done his business calculations very well.
Kwa hivyo yako mboka.
Yeah, you know. So if you ask me, he's not interested in lead, because let me tell you, you do not just sprinkle from somewhere and decide you want to become president.
He tried governor though.
No, listen, let me tell you. I'm coming from somewhere. I've been working with community. I have built a few steps politically and established myself and established a political base. Who is Jimmy Wanjigi when the politics of this country is mentioned? Jimmy Wanjigi is nothing but a broker. I mean, if today I asked you, what is it that Jimmy Wanjigi produces? Which companies does he own? Which franchises does he operate? Because today, if I told you to tell me what Nashudi, the late Nashudi Merani was doing, you can risk quite a business. Yeah. If I tell you to tell me what Shah from Nini is doing, you can tell me. If I told you to tell me what Devik does, you have a list of all those things. If I told you to tell me what Chandaria does, you can list countless businesses. If I told you, please tell me what business does Jimmy Wanjigi do? Which companies does he own? What do they produce? Where are they located?
Caramel Lounge.
You see, that's a service business. And surely you cannot be billionaire by selling alcohol in this country unless you're producing.
They have shots that are worth 41K there.
It doesn't matter. 41K is not enough to make you a dollar billionaire in this country. So basically, what I'm saying is, Jimmy Wanjigi is purely doing his calculations. As a broker, he is purely doing calculations for business. I mean, I'm here, I have money, I'm vying for the presidency. I probably will not win, but I have the capacity to stop some people from winning. So you better talk to me. We can sit down and talk on as a matter of principle on how I benefit by withdrawing from this. I mean, so let me tell you, take Jimmy Wanjigi seriously at your own cost. I mean, I don't think he's serious. And as my brother has said, I'm not even sure he can be the chairman of Nyimakumi in Muthaiga, considering the people he lives with. So,
ouch for Jimmy Wanjigi.
I'm just saying, because I've been listening to Sifuna, I've been listening to ODM chair. Apparently, they are now at loggerheads because Jimmy Wanjigi has opened a parallel party headquarters that is in the state of the art. So, I mean, Kenyans, the only thing I would tell Kenyans, eat well, it lasts.
But sasa unaona Jimmy Wanjigi is demonstrating the muscle of finances.
Let me tell you, I will tell you, most people, and my brother would tell you here, most of these people you see who are famed to have this money, most of them don't have that money, sorry to say. I'll give you an example. Everybody used to believe Kabogo was this rich guy who is moving up and down with helicopters, this billionaire. You will then come to realize Sonko, the flamboyance, would portray a billionaire. Sometimes you'd even think he's a dollar billionaire. But these people, they don't have that kind of money. People think they just know how to put a good show that would portray them otherwise. We have seen people who we thought are billionaires being dealt with by the, what do you call them, the auctioneers. In this city, let me tell you. So therefore, I think for me, as a Jimmy Wanjigi, the business person, has done very good calculations. I would give it up on him because if you listen to his interview on Sunday, you realize that he was not mostly concentrated about what normal Kenyans are going through. His major discussion was businesses and what those
business on the bourgeoisie level.
You get all this. So when you tell me that I should even think of the presidency of Jimmy Wanjigi, you must be a political toddler or a political retard to even think Jimmy Wanjigi in State House. I mean, as much as Uhuru Kenyatta, you have said here, may not have had a chance, remember, Uhuru Kenyatta still came from a very powerful family that is not just rich in money, it's also rich in politics. Their politics is rich, and their roots in politics would come to help him. And then there were a few dynasties that owed his father some favor here and there. So you cannot really compare a benefit of history. And then Jimmy must also, and that's why I keep on telling you, LUCIA, today, what you do tomorrow will affect the kids you have.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
what is the track record of the father who was a politician? So that's what actually is. So Jimmy Wanjigi can entertain us. He will make sure that the political scenery for 2022, we are well entertained. I can tell you there are artists and personalities that will make money because Jimmy Wanjigi has shown from the word go that flamboyance is his way of enticing Kenyans. Moving
on swiftly. Daily Nation says pressure piles for Uhuruto handshake. People Daily. DP changes tune on guards shuffle. And the Standard says DP Ruto's 10-day test as Matiang'i faces MPs. Now, Uhuruto handshake, nimesikia ukipigia UDA kudebe sana hapa. Is there a possibility of that happening? Do we picture a reconciliation in the near future, Kariuki? Ama that ship has sailed to Endelen, given the fact that now the DP is getting frustrated even when it comes to his security?
First of all, I'm reading a comment here from Meshach Owino on the Talks page. And he says that this is a UDA derby. So I want to start by a disclaimer that in as much as I'm in UDA, I think MUCHENDU is in Chama Chakazi.
Yes.
So this is not a UDA derby. And, where he belongs, they have already declared that they are going to climb on the table
Why do I feel like if that is said in Kikuyu, it has a deeper meaning?
They will climb on the table. And if you don't listen to what is being said, they will
Topple the table.
yes, and we will eat from the floor. All of us. That was comical. That was comical from my friend Moses.
Okay.
But let me say that I believe in unity of purpose. I have been one of those people who from the beginning are saying that I would be very happy to see the former comrade that we used to see from the president and the deputy president. It is them who formed this government, and they are the ones who understand the dynamics within. But I will talk on what public interest is in this case. I think so many Kenyans and from their supporters, there is that word out there that the president and the deputy were working very well when they were together and when they were working as a pair. But in this case, I think it is just a state of the president, who is the boss, who decided perhaps to make a decision that would sweep the activities that the deputy president used to do, and they were transferred to someone else. I am also compelled to say that the people of Kenya believe that in as much as all this stuff is happening, it is very important for the government of the day to deliver on their promises and their re-election agenda. So for them to do that, there must be unity of purpose. It is not that we only need to see, for example, the president and the deputy come out in the public and declare that from today we have shaken hands. They are still friends, but we might as well be interested to see them playing some golf on a Sunday afternoon somewhere.
I particularly miss the matching ties and the folded sleeves and the together press statements. I miss those ones.
Yes, of course. No, they would send a signal, but not necessarily. Today, if, for example, the president and the deputy were spotted somewhere playing golf on a Saturday afternoon, and the pictures and the maybe short clips goes out to the public, that would signify and show a very amiable environment for the country, and also bring the tension that has been prevailing down.
Let me tell you, if that happens, a headline in news and TV at 9 is going to be Raila gets hit as deputy president and president golf on a Sunday afternoon. Alafu itakuwa a whole other narrative. 2 days from there, you'll get Raila's camp sweating bullets. They do not know what is going on between president and deputy president.
and that is the unfortunate fact of Kenyan politics, because if we cannot, for example, be able to withstand these travails. I give you an example. In 2018, the vice president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria was within the same environment that the deputy president of Kenya has been. What happened then is that the president of the Republic, Muhammad Buhari, made some changes within the, for example, the Economic Council of Nigeria, where he reduced the roles of the vice president, Yemi Osinbajo, and by that, the roles were given to, I think, the former advisor on economic planning and something, who was also within the cabinet. And from there, allies of the vice president were also sacked. I think even very close people within the House leadership were also demoted. So what happened? The vice president did not get up and come in arms and start disagreeing with the boss. He was very calm through that environment, and he always, at all times, called for the unity of the party, that is APC. The same thing has happened here in Kenya. When the president made that decision, I think the deputy president was the one who was trying to protect the image of the government when he was saying that we are still working as a government, we need to pursue this and this, we need to do this and this. When he goes, for example, to the president's backyard, he would say, as government, we are doing this and this and this. But it was contrasting on the side of the president. The president even once went to Nyandarua. And what did he say? Ati nitakuwa najileta. Nikituma wengine, wanakuja na mambo yao. You see, someone, on the other hand, is trying to cease fire, while the other person, on the other hand, doesn't care about whether this thing will escalate or not. So I think that I am, as a creation of God, and we are told on the Sermon of the Mountain, blessed are the peacemakers. I think I would be interested to see not just the president, because those ones can, the president and the deputy, they are the high command upon which we follow. Those ones can sort their differences and they understand that we who are in these other camps, Tanga, UDA, Jubilee C, Chama cha Kazi, I think that we are the ones who are having issues, and we are the ones who are supposed to sit down on a table. I didn't say that we have issues with Chama cha Kazi. The ideologies.
We are about to get into that.
But essentially, what I'm saying is that we are the ones who need to sit down, and I have been asking Kenyans to pray for the leadership of this country, and let us continue engaging. Let us make sure that no matter the differences that accrue within this political process, we must always remain together as one. We will not, for example, shift camp. In any case, we all have the same ideology, for example, within all these spaces. Those ones from Mount Kenya who are now left in Jubilee, I think they are less than 10 MPs, the ones that are left. I think they are only counting, it's a matter of time, and they will shift. So all these things can be settled, and I'm looking forward to that day when the people of Kenya, and especially those who are formerly in Jubilee, will reconcile. I want to see a handshake between NGUNJIRI Wambogo and Kimani Ichung'wah. I want to see a handshake between David Murathe and Alice Wahome. I want to see a handshake between Oscar Sudi and maybe somebody like Fred Matiang'i as well, because we are all Kenyans. But when it comes to the political side of it, watu walimane, tulimane, ikimalizika, we go back to our nationhood.
Governor, weigh in.
I think for me is it will not surprise me if today I was to find that the DP spent some time with the president. There is a saying in this country, and don't know whether it's out there, that there is no permanent enemy or permanent friend in politics. Yeah. So it will not really surprise me. But as you have lightly put, the headline will not be about them. It will be about how Raila has been betrayed. It will be about how BBI was supposed to keep, all those things that would come to would come as a headline.
Prokopanda.
Yeah, but then I think for me, if that was to happen, it will most likely be initiated by the president, because I think the deputy president, from where I sit, does not really need the president. I mean, the president has played a very big role in alienating the deputy president in most of the activities within government. And I think for me, as one time Dennis Itubi put it, whoever will be supported by Uhuru Kenyatta, Uhuru Kenyatta comes with a lot of baggage on his shoulders to come and support you. And I think the deputy president has successfully created his own route away from the president. And if those routes were to meet again, you can be sure that it will not be received by equal measures from all corners. The reunion of the DP and the president will also be met with some resistance, because most politicians in central Kenya who are pro deputy president, they have built their case by fighting and presenting a negativity about the president. And therefore a union between the president and the deputy will have to send them back to the drawing board to find issues that they will drive their agendas in.
The same way the other handshake confused.
The handshake confused them. You know, I was looking at the Kibicho or the Harambee House bloggers 5 years ago, and today, what they used to write vis-a-vis what they are writing, they were so intense in fighting Raila Odinga. They are now trying so hard to sell Raila Odinga to the people of the mountain. The same people, same character, same boss, same way of doing things, different ball game. And I think for me is that the politics of this country, Lucia, I pray, and that is what the Hustler Nation has done, sell ideology, not individuals. And this is the problem in this country, that we do not have a political ideologies. It will be very hard, really hard, for a member of the Labour Party in the UK to actually form a coalition with a member of the David Cameron's party, the Conservatives, because their ideologies on how government ought to be run is very different. Like in here, you would find that it is very possible for Uhuru and Raila, who have not had the same ideologies, to come together, because Kenyans do not care about issues. They just care about individuals and how they unite, which is very wrong. Having said that, and on a lighter note, I have never been a member of UDA.
Now, yes.
Yes.
Just before you go on, does Chama cha Kazi subscribe to the Hustler Nation ideology?
We are a Hustler Nation. We are at the heart of the Hustler Nation ideology. But our belief is that our issues, because the people at UDA, what they are trying to do is okay. They are trying to create a national party. And it's all right, but the diversity in this country, and take this to the person who is going to create a good coalition in this country will win. Because I keep saying, we do not have a majority people in this country. I don't believe in a single party ruling this country. Reasons why. We do not have a majority in this country. We don't have a majority in this country. What we have is what I call significant minorities. For instance, Kikuyu are the significant minority in this country. Rohia, significant minority, because majority means you are 50+1, which no single community subscribes or has been able to achieve that. Number two is that the reason the crafters of the new constitution, there is a reason why they crafted the 47 county government into regions. And you remember that today, if you ask me about sugar, I only know the sugar I put on my tea. But there are people from Western Kenya who know more than just putting sugar on the tea.
Oh, I can tell you all about sugar. Yes, I come from the sugar belt.
The sugar belt. Those are issues that if you want MUCHENDU to go and converse, MUCHENDU will not be able to articulate the issues of sugar. I cannot go to articulate the issues of pan paper and production. They are people. But come ask me about milk. Come ask me about coffee. Ask me about tea. I'll tell you everything you need to know about it.
So this is why in the political parties, actually, the political party is required to have presence in more than 24 counties.
It doesn't matter, but let me tell you.
You get representatives to represent the interests of those regions.
Let me tell you, the heartly love that was shown between Uhuru Kenyatta and one William Ruto between 2013 and 2017 is the reason why they decided to fold their political parties and form a union called Jubilee. But you see, when there is this thing, pastors will wake up on church and tell you God is good and every part of the time. What about the human being? Today, the deputy president, the predicament he is going through today, it is as a result of founding a political party. Then the people who took over Jubilee were not his people. But everybody who was a member of URP was given a second field position in Jubilee. If it is Kositani, he became a deputy. And
you see, that's also a problem with coalitions.
That's what I'm telling you. You know, 2017, 2022, it was not a coalition. Jubilee was formed as a political party, not a coalition. It was a coalition between 2013, 2017. Then here is a deputy president who does not have a political party, who does not have a say on how matters Jubilee are adjudicated. The people who have a say is Morathe and Rafael Tuju. And he is now doing the reason why he has been forced to go back to the drawing board to form and reorganize UDA. It is because he realized for me to be able to have a say and to run a very good political campaign, I have to reorganize a party that I am in control. Therefore, why would you want, after 30 years of being in power, as the community from the central Kenya, we are ready for a leader who is not from our community, Lucia? I can tell you, I do not envision, I don't believe, and I know for a fact there will be no Kikuyu president in 2022. Having said that and having agreed on that, Lucia, it is that we must as a community know what is our gain.
We have not agreed. You've only said.
Yes. And you see, in the book of Peter, we see the disciples asking Christ, now that we have left everything we have left our riches, what is it that we shall gain by following you? They were asking Christ, not a human being. And these people were told, you will get 100 folds and eternal life for you living your things and following me. So as a community, we are saying, now that we have agreed, we will not have a president who is a Kikuyu in 2022, and we are ready to rally behind someone.
KARIUKI has looked at you in a very questionable way when you said as a community.
Yes, as a community. And let me tell you, and I will say this without fear of contradiction. Before I am a Kenyan, I am a Kikuyu from Mount Kenya. And the sooner we agree on that diversity. And when we say that, people think that we are tribal. We are not tribal. Otherwise, before you tell me to abolish Chama cha Kazi with Moses Kuria and we join UDA, first of all, abolish the 47 county governments. They are regional governments.
Wow.
So, let me tell you, this country, the reason why the founding fathers, as much as they did not do a great job, there is one thing they did correct today and we have to pay homage to them. They left a united country. This country, Lucia, since the inception has not had a civil war. We have never fought, other than there's few political things. This country has not experienced a civil war in the one we are seeing in Uganda, the one we are seeing in Congo. Why did they do that? They were able to pick people who are known and heard in the regions and bring them together to forge peace. Today, go to Ethiopia. Why is the Ethiopia coming down today as we are speaking? It is because the government, the central government, has failed to recognize the regional government and incorporate them in the running of the national government. This country is diverse. And one political party, we don't want to, we are running away from Rafael Tuju and Morathe the way they are doing Jubilee. We do not want to go to UDA.
But then
we don't want to go to UDA where people like Rigathi Gachagua feel that they are entitled.
Okay,
and what they say goes.
Let's give KARIUKI a minute. But you see, I feel like that's the impression that you're giving because at the beginning, Kuria was hustler
No,
nation.
can I tell you?
And it was the impression that we are working together.
As KARIUKI responds.
Just wait. So it was this impression that we are working together, yeah, right? The same way that Jubilee started, we were working together. And then all of a sudden, tuko na Jubilee A and tuko na Jubilee B, which now becomes UDA. So it now feels like already we want to have UDA B and UDA
Can I tell you, as KARIUKI response, number one, Moses Kuria has never been a member of UDA.
No, but he
Atene,
supports the
listen.
hustler.
Yes, he has never been a member of UDA. Moses Kuria had a party before UDA was formed. Get that correct. He had a party before the UDA was formed. He was a member of People's Empowerment Party. We could not agree with the people who are holding offices in PEP. PEP has had candidates all over. We have an MCA, we have an MP under PEP at Juja constituency. And therefore, when we could not agree with the people at the People's Empowerment Party, we agreed, let us form our own party. We have never, because there is that confusion that people think that we have never been members of UDA. We have been members of Hustler Nation. There was that idea. In fact, what Gojiri Nani would tell you, do you know who first created the Hustler Center?
Who?
It is Moses Kuria.
Exactly.
It is Moses Kuria who created the Hustler Center. And the Hustler Center, when it was being created, it was not supposed to be our headquarter for any party.
But then
it was supposed to be for those people
Hustler
who
himself came out and said, we have a political vehicle for 2022, and it is UDA.
We don't want to be in UDA where some people think that they have the right to scarf life out of us.
Okay, let's give Kariuki the right of response.
First of all, I want to begin from the discussion we had earlier and say that if the president today wanted to gain legitimacy, let me first begin by describing what legitimacy means. Legitimacy is the acceptability of the president within where he had that legitimacy, that is within the Mount Kenya region. So I dare say, if the president wanted to gain his legitimacy at his base, that is in the Mount Kenya region, he would be required to greet, or like I said, come to where the deputy president is, because the deputy president essentially inherited that legitimacy. So if the president wants to bring back that friendly nature to the people of the mountain, he must be seen with the deputy president.
Where did the deputy president inherit this legitimacy from?
This has happened over time. It is not something that happened just overnight. Like I told you, he has been with the people through thick and thin. He's been going and interacting with them on almost every activity that is happening within the social setting. And so they understand very well who the deputy president is. They have seen the deputy president many times come and do things with them. That is how he has been able to build a popular base in the Mount Kenya region. And so the legitimacy that the president is lacking right now is as a result of the traverse that has come to the government. And I think that if he indeed seeks to come back to the heart and the love that the people had for him, but maybe the love wouldn't come as much as it happened in the other years, but I think that the people of Mount Kenya would look at him in another light. But right now, when you go to the grassroots and ask questions, what do you think about the government? The people will say, the government was good when the deputy president and the president were together, when we used to see them, like you said, in matching outfits, when the deputy president would be sent, for example, somewhere in Nyeri to launch a project, when the deputy president would be sent to these other parts. So they see that there is something that has changed. And they say that the government looked good. You understand? The government was working. But right now, the reason why, in as much as there are projects that are ongoing, they cannot see that, is because Ruto seems to have been fought by the same people they formed government with. So with that kind of thinking, then I know that the people of Central have not yet recovered from that thinking of saying, now we've been injured, this is the favorite, and it's fact and it's clear that the deputy president is the favorite right now. So when they see like he's being isolated or being subjected to some issues that will bring shame and contempt to his office, that is when they feel that they have, rather they have lost that which they believe must happen. And so that is the cause of all these problems that you see, the protests that you saw in the voting, the protests that you have seen from the media, for example, the comments that you get on the ground. And so I think that it is time, like Rigathi Gachagua said, for the president perhaps to rethink his course of action and now think of coming back to where he used to be. And I think that will now bring another nature. I'll give you an example of somebody who did that. One is Gathoni wa Mushomba. Before, he used to be subjected to a lot of ridicule. He was even nicknamed some other names. And every time he would come into public space to speak, the people would say, "We were meharibu." That was a statement. I'll also give you another example of somebody called Irongo Kangata, who is my senator. When he was in Kieleweke, and those were the people who are fighting the deputy president, he would be subjected to a lot of ridicule and insults. But the moment he crossed over and he wrote that letter, he regained back his popularity. So the same case applies to the president. If today, like I said, they were to be seen somewhere in on a certain afternoon doing some golf or whatever, just a picture, not even them coming out to do a public statement, but them being seen, for example, doing a certain activity, I think that would drastically change everything, and the discussion would now shift. At the moment, nobody has a problem with President Kenyatta. Nobody has a problem with him. The issues here is the way the government has subjected some people into some suffering. And that is the issue. If the president as a person decided to go with the popular base and the popular narrative, then he would also get the legitimacy that it were. So when we talk about this discussion, and I agree with Rigathi Gachagua when he said that we are ready, if the president was to call his people and say that let us discuss how we can come back together, but not to discuss succession and discuss issues that matter to the Republic of Kenya, I think that everybody would be willing in open arms to receive that. I also, on that particular point, want to end by saying, through Mount Kenya region, the president understands that our interests are the same. And we don't have differences when it comes to economic interests. So those are some of the most urgent issues that he's supposed to tackle. As now I come back to the topic that Muchendu introduced, I think that first of all, his understanding is that we need to, each and every person, decide to go and do their party. The Hustler Nation has a lot of support from across the country. It has a lot of support. Today, if the discussion was to shift, and now we say that we no longer think of a national party, and that each and every region must come up with their party, and they must come and bargain for the deputy president position. Western region would also do the same. Eastern would also do the same. Coast would also do the same. Northeastern will also do the same. This will pull us back 2 steps when we make one forward. It will mean that we will not be able to advance what we seek as nationalism within a party that unites all Kenyans. I understand and I'm aware and I'm awake to the fact that Kenya has different interests. that are informed by geographical settings. But I also argue that it is possible to have a national party that unites all people and at the same time also specifies the specific interests from each and every base. UDA is a party that seeks to create that unitary environment. It does not mean that UDA is at war with anyone and seeks to isolate anyone. UDA is a party of national unity, believes in the divergence of opinion, it believes in the diversity of thinking, interests, norms and traditions. It does not seek to create division. However, in contrast, our partners in the Hustler Nation, like Chama cha Kazi, must also now be awake to the fact that the Hustler Nation is a unitary movement. And I am tempted to say that a statement like we are going to spill the food if you're not going to listen to us is a strategic blunder.
But if I was Moses Kuria, I would feel kind of sidelined to that effect, and I'd want to be listened to. But then also here is a question: does it mean that everyone who supports the Hustler movement has to be a member of UDA? You can't belong to any other party.
No, it doesn't mean that everyone has to be a member of UDA. That is not true. It doesn't have to be. But you see, when you're not in UDA, you're supposed to exercise restraint, and your actions must not be counterproductive. This is an issue that I have with the statements that we are hearing. If, for example, Moses Kuria, who is part of the Hustler Nation, and we are partners in the Hustler Nation, believes in the unity of the Hustler Nation, I think that they are supposed to be advancing ideological interests, mostly economic setting, and those that seek to transform and strategically shift the discussion from the one that is based on power to the one that responds to the economic challenges that the people are facing, which is the ideology of the Hustler Nation. We are not in any issues with anybody within the Hustler Nation. TSP, the Service Party, also supports the Hustler Nation, and that is an affiliated party. They also believe in the ideology of shifting the discussion from the one of power, or rather they should, and subscribe to it. In this case, I think we must not always want to pursue certain interests for a period of time without caring much about what should happen, or rather about what will happen after that. These statements could spill what we intend to do. And so that is why I'm saying all parties, all Kenyans, all diverse groups, and everybody else who thinks the Hustler Nation is the ideology for them has always been welcome, and they have always owned that ideology. The UDA party is a party now brings the formal organization of that ideology. It brings that formal organization through now the sponsorship of the brand now, who is the candidate. The Hustler Nation is also a liberal idea that seeks to accommodate and bring all people to UDA and vote for the brand who is the candidate. So that is the difference.
It still just feels like every other political outfit that has happened before 2021 in this country. And this is where I have a problem with. Because if the ideology is the same, and you have this ideology that you're calling the Hustler Nation ideology, everyone will be pulling towards the ideology. The fact that you already have divisions in here means that people have personal agendas.
There are no divisions.
Wait, just wait.
Let me correct.
Just wait. You have to hear where I'm coming from. When in the beginning, it's made clear that it is Moses Kuria who started the Hustler Center. And it's gotten to a place where he feels that he's not being listened to. He wants to spill the food. No one should eat because he's not eating. And it would come as a form of betrayal. When you start the journey with someone and all of a sudden they cut you off and you don't come to an agreement, there's a problem. There's a division there. There's a point of divergence somewhere. Yeah? But here is where I'm asking, if your agenda is to really, really unify, why are you not beginning with this one in your background? Because you have to start with Moses Kuria before we even believe that you can unify the whole country. It's going to be very ironic, just like it is now, when Raila and Uhuru stand on a podium and say, we want to unify the country. Yet they will not allow Miguna back into the country. Yet they will not sit together with the DP. It's very hypocritical for them to say that. So if you're saying you're unifying, why is it very difficult for UDA to sit down with Chama Chakazi, who is Moses Kuria basically, and hear him out and find common ground? Because unity means finding common ground. Okay. You can have your own opinion, I can have my own opinion. We don't have to agree. But in order to be unified, we have to have common ground. So why is it so difficult for UDA and Chama Chakazi to find that common ground?
Of course, there is a process that will be birthed in the coming days that will seek to blend all these realities that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. But at the moment, I want to tell you, there is no division. There's no division. I think that when Moses Kuria speaks and he represents Chamba Chakazi, he doesn't represent the entire Hustler nation. When Moses Kuria speaks, he speaks about the interests that himself, and you have heard him Muchendu mention Rigathi Gachagua. So Moses Kuria seems to be at an opposing side. He seems to have started the war
with Rigathi?
With Rigathi Gachagua, which is the normal nature of politics. Because the way Muchendu is speaking, who is also part of Chama Chakazi, it means that the problem is not the Hustler nation. The problem is whatever maybe ideological or political difference that Moses Kuria is advancing and mentioning Rigathi Gachagua about. So it is not entirely on the Hustler nation. It is maybe some small differences here and there between Moses Kuria and Rigathi Gachagua.
Okay. So let's take a few comments from Tacklers before we can proceed. I have an interesting question to ask, and I really like the fact that it's sad that Muchendu had to leave. He had an emergency, but I really like the fact that you're from Mount Kenya, because this is touching on the fact that we were told Mafan, so Mount Kenya ni wa rent. No, once the rent has stopped being paid, mnarudi kule mmetoka. So, Weekly for Gajo watching live from Mombasa. Good morning. Odnik Senior, greetings from Edmonton, Canada. Tumepokea salamu za Canada. Bruce Lee Sadia, good morning to you too. Moses Andebe, wow, watching from Kakamega. Mtu wa Ingo, salimia watu wa Kakamega County sana. Jerop Shalin, can't miss this. Good morning, Gerald. Gerald, pokea salamu mahali ulipo. Emmanuel Kipsang is watching. Karibu sana, Emmanuel Kipsang. Caitlin Kate says, polite reminder, if it was not for Ruto's effort, Uhuru would not be the president today. So he should remember that first before we move on to the next step. Caitlin Kate, what would the next step be after Uhuru realizes this? Just out of curiosity. Odnik Senior says, KARIUKI NGUNJIRI, nobody is fighting the DP of Uganda, William Ruto. Ouch. He is fighting himself by himself. He is simply a sympathy seeker. Abbas Njuguna says, Moses, where? Nia ya Moses. Njuri's interests are individualistic. They know UDA would win, but they want specific posts for themselves. I think KARIUKI NGUNJIRI would agree. Caitlin Kate asks, nobody is fighting Ruto? Really? Unless you live in planet Mars. Now, KARIUKI, back to this discussion as we draw to a close. We are unable to get our phone lines open. I would have loved to hear back from Taklas. We are really, really sorry. We are working to get it fixed. As soon as we are able to, we'll open the phone lines.
Mochendu has ran away.
No, he got an emergency. Okay. Something has happened to his daughter at school, and you know, kids.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so he had to leave. But we are hoping everything is going to be fine with the daughter. Mumweke kwa maombi tafadhali. So Ngunjiri, sorry KARIUKI, we are told that mafans wa Mount Kenya ni wale wamerentiwa. So lease period ikiisha, support inaenda nayo pia. Your rent ni pesa ngapi?
I think that first of all, that is nonsense, and the people who advanced that argument are the ones that we are seeing now making certain tweets, which I think they should be questioned for that. I am reading tweets here that are coming from people who are thought to have brains, but I think that they are the ones who have rented those brains to some other place. I want to say this, that the people of the mountain have always been honorable people. People who respect one another, people who respect the cause that they believe in. In this case, they have always portrayed that they can be held accountable to the actions they do and the words they say. In 2013 and going up to 2017, they already accepted, and they were in a general consensus that there is this one person called William Ruto who assisted us in getting the presidency through President Uhuru Kenyatta. And while he was patient, we never saw him being disinterested or taking us into the wrong direction. They then agreed, and it's something that has gained legitimacy over time, that comes 2022, they will support the deputy president. They have gone to that extent by electing a member of parliament in Kiambaa against the president's candidate, just to show that they have already decided and moved on that fact. It is not for me to sit here and discuss, for example, the number of votes that they are going to give to the deputy president, because I'm not a prophet. But I believe that they will come out in very large numbers, and most of them are very bitter with the current state of affairs. When that time comes, you'll be able to see. And for us as Hustler Nation in UDA, we are targeting the highest majority that has ever come out to vote in any election in the history of the Republic. This time round, we especially target the young people from our region, and to also bring and convert that into the national support that we have. We will, of course, the Kenyans will, of course, come out to vote. Hustlers across the country, in Kisumu, in Coast, where in the last election, the deputy president and the president did not get a majority, but who believe that they resonate very well with the ideology of the Hustler Nation. Because you asked me specifically about Mount Kenya region, I will tell you this. This time round, and that has been my clarion call, and it is my work, and I'm continuing that agenda, that I want to have as many young people as possible register as voters, participate in the campaign, and also make sure that they come out to vote during election day. Because I noticed something in Kiambaa, that in the campaign process, you have so many people, for example, in the rallies, and this can be implanted across all regions in the country. However, when it comes to converting that latent support into an actual vote, the young people do not actually turn up on the morning of voting at the polling station. So to cure that, I gave it as part of my responsibility as a ranking youth and as the leader of the caucus of youth in the Hustler Nation to make sure that we advance the interests of the young people, not just during the campaign processes, but making sure that they participate in the most important process of manufacturing leaders. If we are to be guaranteed of a safe future that we keep on talking about in the phrase that the youth are the leaders of tomorrow, we must participate in the affairs of the Republic, most importantly, voting those who we believe will transform this country. That we are going to do. In Mount Kenya, I can assure you, in all those 9 counties, we are going to deliver the highest votes in the history of the Republic. This can be kept as a promise beyond 2022. You'll be able to see it. The only thing that I am insisting on is that we are not doing politics of rhetoric. We are doing politics of utilitarian ideology. Politics that seeks to transform the economy of the Republic from bottom going up. And what do we mean by this? And this is a course that our people are ready to take and they are already advancing. We are saying that, for example, on the 2 factors that will build the ecosystem of economy, which include 1, creation of self-employment, 2, employment. So what do we do about self-employment? I want to talk about the ease of doing business. Today, for you to hook eggs at Koja here, you need connection. Mm-hmm. There is a lot of bureaucracy and a lot of criminalizing of enterprise on agendas that are supposed to support the person at the grassroots. Mm-hmm. So we seek to come up with, for example, policies and which are ongoing and laws and institutions that are going to protect those small-scale traders and people who seek to start businesses. Number 2, the hardest question that we must ask ourselves: why do we always talk about giving tax holidays to big corporations, and yet our startups are required to pay very high taxes when they have not broken even and where they are in the first month of operation? Another point is, what are we doing about supporting social businesses? I give you an example of where this is happening in Bangladesh. The government has supported individuals within the enterprise industry by giving them capital and giving them resources to be able to boost their hustles. The same will also be done here. Again, on the point of employment, we need to think about the tenants that hold the economy, which first is agriculture. We seek to maximize production. Through maximizing of production, we make use of the 3 factors of production and make sure that we are able to expand that, and the raw materials that we have are converted into finished product, and within that process we have created employment. I give you an example of Ghana. President Nana Akufo-Addo has made it a policy of government that before anything is exported, it has to be processed, and this is cocoa within certain provinces. The same will happen here in Kenya, where we have now so many people working through creation of employment. We also make sure that we are able to fund our own projects in the domestic economic metrics. Another thing on, for example, public policy it's been the culture of the African state that patronage has taken over the running of government. For me to get a transformer in my village in Itaga in Muranga County, I have to know the director of Kenya Power. We seek to cure that. And like it has happened in the Republic of Rwanda, where the government works for everyone, you transform that by having an impersonal application of public policy. I don't have to see or know the CS of roads, so that my road leading to our church can be tarmacked. I also talk about issues of, for example, defining what the people of Kenya participating in the affairs of their country is. The processes of public participation have been for the privileged few, and it has been set to suit certain agendas. So we also seek to transform that. We also talk of issues of trade, and we have regions that have productivity in very high rates. For example, our coffee in the Mount Kenya region, sugarcane from where you come from. We need the government to actively participate in setting up of more and more industries. Mumias has died. These are some of the sad state of affairs that we see in this country. All these projects and all these plans, which also includes shifting back from capital-intensive projects, the brick and mortar, to labor-intensive projects, which will expand the tax base and also help us in not over-relying on borrowing. We need to fund our economy from within. The borrowing must come when necessary. So these are the issues that we must discuss as Kenyans, and we are offering this agenda to the people of the Republic of Kenya, and we want to respect every hustle.
So it's good that you say all these things about the economy, and I get that the focus here, Hustler Nation, is on the economy, but we need a holistic society in order to function. And two other things that really, really affect us, and they are an important factor in the making or breaking of the economy. One will be corruption, and two will be police brutality. And I think as a young man, yes, you can relate to that really, really, really well, because it figures a certain point of the night and your life is not your life anymore. Ukikutana na karao mahali pabaya, you're either dead or something else. So even as you focus on fixing the economy, and I actually don't think this economy is ever going to be fixed until corruption is fixed first. So once corruption is dealt with, then the economy can be fixed. Because corruption is a leak in a bucket. So even if we keep filling that bucket with all the economic policies and ideologies that have worked for every other country in the world, and our bucket still has a leak, that bucket is never going to fill up. Yeah. So what are some of the measures? Because you have very extensive explanations for economic measures. What are some of the measures that are going to be put in place to curb corruption and also police brutality? Yes. And I would actually think that police brutality would be at the top of the agenda at UDA, because you guys are getting the brunt of it right now. Yes, yes. And the irony of it is, this security bill was sponsored by the same people wenye wanafinywa nao sahi. Murkomen being very active participant in making sure that bill was passed into law. And right now, he's suffering from it. Okay. So and you see, this then becomes a problem, because you're suffering now and you're not in power. What happens when you get in power? It's retaliation time, right?
Now, let me answer. For corruption, we have a pure patronage, and I mentioned this. The huge chunk of corruption in Kenya is through patronage. I need to get a certain project, then I must see someone, and that is where money is exchanged. So when we talk about patronage, we have already a cure for corruption. Number two, let me advance the issue of police brutality. One, the existence of any government is to protect life and property. That is the basic function of any government. And it exists for that purpose as a basic structure. Today, it is started as, for example, the state arguing that they have the monopoly. And in fact, they say that we have legitimate monopoly of violence and power. It is true, and this is an argument that has been advanced by a scholar, Max Weber. I agree with it, and it exists within the theoretical framework. But in a society that exists with the realities such as ours, the government must be very careful on where that legitimate monopoly of violence and power comes in. In a failed state, the case could be different perhaps because of the threats that face any state. For example, in a country like Afghanistan, in a country, for example, like Somalia, the government would have legitimate reasons, for example, to beat people at night, because those are the ones that are believed to be causing war in certain regions. Maybe in Tigray, in Ethiopia, and this doesn't justify any actions by any governments against its citizens. Let me come to our case here in Kenya. I feel very bad, and just recently we had the case of the Kiajakoma brothers. It is sad that the police, who are supposed to take care of life and property, are being seen to take a partisan role in crime. I think that as a country, we have talked about police brutality for quite a long time. We have cried up to our government to make sure that those who are advancing this bad image of the government of Kenya are brought to book. IPOA, which is an oversight authority that is supposed to oversee over the police, has been doing quite well. However, because of various vested interests within these cases, then most of them don't end up seeing light of day. I think that the president, who we have given the mandate to oversee over our affairs, has a responsibility, and the ministry that is charged with this mandate, not to protect their officers, but to make sure that they expose their officers to accountability, because that is where the issue is. Before an officer picks a rungu and hits someone, they are supposed to ask themselves, will my boss cover my tribulations, or will they let me carry my own burden? And when the answer is they will let me carry my own burden, I think those officers will act in restraint. So I believe that these are actions that must come from government. And as young people, and as a young man, I crowd to the president. The young people are dying in the hands of the police, and you're the only person who can be able to look onto this matter. All these other people are either not interested, or they have decided not to work for Kenyans because they were given those offices because they need to work for Kenyans. So this is something that we must deal with. We have a very bleak populace here, Linda. The young people are having a lot of problems. It's a ticking time bomb. And if we are not careful, by the way, it might end up being a catastrophe in the Republic. You're beating up people who are also already facing economic challenges. And I want to assure them that we who believe in the hustler nation believe in the respect for human dignity, among which we also believe in the sanctity of life. Nobody should die for any reason. Nothing can be justified for someone to die just because they were gotten outside during curfew hours. For the president again, this curfew whole issue has brought more harm than good. It is not scientifically correct to argue that curfew has reduced COVID. Maybe those who advise the president have advised him on the basis that perhaps when people go home early, maybe the police are able to get a good working environment to survey the country, which is only 1% of the problems that have been solved by the curfew. So police brutality must end in Kenya. And it must end not tomorrow, today. Those who have participated in it must pay for their actions. And going forward, the government must expose its officers to accountability.
There's a robust conversation going on in the comment section about the importation of sugar and maize. So our phone is now working. If you have if you'd like to talk to us, kindly call us on 077980010. Please call us on 077980010. We'd like to hear your contribution to this discussion, even as we go on. So the question here then, Kariuki, becomes implementation, because we've had politicians come and make promises and then they go away for like 4 years. Alafu watarudi tena kama kura iko karibu. So right now, I know a lot of us are going to be seeing our MCAs, we are going to be seeing our MPs, we are going to even know some of our leaders that we didn't know. What they'll show up because elections are coming next year. I know people who have not spoken to me for the past 4 years, lakini kwa sababu election ni next year, they actually want me to go vote for them. So they are now speaking to me. Na nimewaonea 18. So then the biggest question here becomes implementation. Why is it that Kenyans should believe in anyone who tells them anything right now? Because we've lost a lot of faith in our leaders, in our political leaders. And someone said here that the DP is just looking for sympathy, yeah? And Itumbi made it clear that anyone who gets the support of the president, the current president, is going to have to deal with the baggage. So is this tension and friction between the DP and the president intentional, because they recognize that if they continue together as they are, the deputy president is not going to get that vote, because it's going to keep being associated with the failure that he actually helped create. Because for 7 good years, the deputy president and the president worked perfectly well. Most of the things zenye zinatufinya sahi ni makosa za 2014. Za last year but one, the previous 3 years, bado hatujaanza kuzisikia effects zake. So the fact that he has now isolated himself from a problem that he has been part of all along, does this mean that it's just a smart ploy for him to get a sympathy vote from Kenyans, rather than him and the president actually having friction and tension between them?
You see, first of all, as people who seek the support of all Kenyans to get the mandate to govern this country, I think that we are appealing to the last man in the last village to vote for us, including the president. We're also asking the president to vote for UDA and the Hustler Nation in the next election in the position of MCA, Member of Parliament, Governor, Senator, Women Rep, and even the president. So the vote of the president is as important as the vote of these other people. However, I want to say that argument is coming from the history that we've had. It's not necessary that one must seek a public endorsement, perhaps, from the president because of maybe inheriting that incumbency burden, but rather the support that might come through otherwise, even voting for someone is also support. So I believe that it is clear to Kenyans, and this is not a point that we will seek to explain. They can already see it, that the deputy president has not been part of the second term. And so that takes out the incumbency burden, which would be maybe some people asking the question that you're asking there. So the whole of this second term and the issues that have happened right now have happened when the president and now the other principal assistant, who has been Matiang'i, has been overseeing over these affairs. So if anybody is to have that incumbency burden, of course the president is not running, so he doesn't have any problem when it comes to going for votes. So the person who might carry that burden is now the person who has come to government, who is Raila Odinga and Matiang'i. So they are the ones who will answer that. Let me come to point number 2. On the issue of sympathy, nobody would wish on themselves any tribulations. In fact, at a certain position of leadership in the country, you can't imagine that certain things can happen. For example, you imagining on yourself being prevented from going to Uganda. I mean, is that something that somebody would do for them to gain sympathy? For what? So the argument on sympathy is irrational, and it is not true that the DP is trying to seek any sympathy. It's only that those that have been doing these things are seeing that he has been able to advance, and because they also have certain political interest, they are trying to apply destructive mechanisms to have a competitive advantage. Number 3, on the question on whether somebody will have trust on us, I want to tell you that we are being led by a candidate who has a track record. He believes in working for Kenyans at all times. He has been able to deliver in the past. He has also portrayed his willingness to tackle the challenges that face the people of Kenya, not through rhetoric like the one the likes of Raila Odinga have been selling and false hope and promises, but through practical solutions, through the most pressing needs, and that is the economic policy. So we are people who are meaning good for this country. We are the most unique, a lot of all the other crop of leaders, and that is why our ideology has gone beyond where the candidate comes from or from central Kenya.
All right, so let me read a few comments. Alex Njonde says, Kuria and Rigathi are fighting for deputy president's seat. Alex, Moses Kuria said he's not vying for any position next year. He's focusing on building Chama Chakazi for the interest of Mount Kenya region. Remains to be seen if he's really retiring from politics or it's just political talk. TRS Marshall says, let Moses Kuria certify the suspect that he was the suspicion that he was a mole in Hustler Nation. Okay. Eric Angwaya says, tuned in, so insightful. Thank you, Eric. Odnik Senior, thank you for giving a thumbs up for Made in Kenya. Inawezekana. Buy Kenya, build Kenya bana. Lazima tujijenge. I think India closed their economy from imports for a period of about 10 years. And they had to grow their manufacturing industry to be able to provide from within everything that they required. Maybe we should borrow a leaf. It might work wonders because Kenyans are very innovative. James Mwenda. Good morning, James. He says, Lucia, any law can be misused. You cannot therefore vilify Murkomen for supporting the security law, which is now being misused. Someone has answered him down here. I'll get down.
Respond to that.
Yeah, I'll give you the right of response. Just let me finish here. So Amos Mbugwa says, tuned in from the city of Nottingham, UK. Good morning, Amos. Odnik Senior says, on matters of security, Ruto is a senior member of National Security Council, attends weekly security meetings, receives daily intelligence briefings. Why are you babysitting lies? Abbas Njuguna says, did you see the sugar report drama being spinned in Parliament by the chairman Kanini? So kind request to any of our tacklers with either the contraband sugar imports or the maize imports, and you have documentation that can prove your claims, kindly share it with us. We would like to peddle credible information and not just propaganda, so that we don't malign anyone's name here on the tackle. Amos Mbugwa says, Kenya's biggest problem is the executive, which wants to make the other arms of government its puppets. Odnik Senior now responds to the question of law being misused. When CORD supporters were dying under police brutality, it was good to amend the security bill. Mkuki kwa nguruwe, kwa binadamu ni uchungu. 47 million are all equal. James Mwenda says, the National Security Council's role is strictly supervisory and exercises no operational control of the security organs. Also, it only meets 4 times in a year and not weekly. Yes, now you have a right of response now.
I think that, first of all, I want to respond on the question of the security bill. I think that our people have to understand this. Sometimes, because of the nature of the factors that influence the current day-to-day running of government, sometimes certain decisions are made, maybe perhaps to favor a certain ideological setting at a certain time, or rather because of the existing evidence on the ground. And so as times change, so do persuasions, positions, and affiliations change. So you cannot judge a decision that was made in the past because of the prevailing circumstances then, which required certain decisions to be made in a certain manner, and then judge it 4 years later because of politics. As times flies, as times change, so do persuasions, positions, circumstances, and factors that influence decisions at a certain time change. On the security bill, I think that Kenyans will understand, as a country, we exist in a very bleak society. And so some of these policies might not be well thought and powerfully conceived when they are being put into action, or rather they might be designed to suit certain existing circumstances at that time, which will not be necessarily the case as a requirement for years to come.
But you see, that is a problem, because and the law is supposed to be constant and very basic.
This is why I'm saying,
because if I can get into power today and I decide I don't like how karaoke breathes, you know, like it doesn't suit the circumstances today for him to have his freedom of breathing, because the way he breathes just irritates me. And I go and make a law and says, so you are not supposed to breathe like this. You're supposed to breathe the way I breathe. So 4 years from now, it's not going to make sense, of course, because it's a senseless law that I made. So when other experts and other dissenting voices were trying to persuade our legislators and telling them that that security bill amendment was very stringent, they didn't listen. They didn't listen to an alternative opinion. So they made a bed, because at that point they were the interest of the powers that were.
I will tell you.
And right now, because they are not the interest of the powers that are, those laws have now come back to haunt them. Fine, they believed what they believed then. But when making a law, shouldn't you project 50, 100 years later? Shouldn't a law only be constricted to working in 4 years' time, so that after 4 years we can go and say it was only suitable for 2017. It's now 2022, it's no longer suitable for 2022. Let's go and change that law. How many laws do you think we will be changing in a month if that is how we worked with our laws?
I think that, like I said, strategic blunders have been made, and this is
that was not a strategic blunder. It was a selfish political blunder.
This is because, you see, like I told you, certain times, and because of the prevailing circumstances at that time and the available evidence on the ground, certain decisions are made. I will give you an example. Just recently, the President of the United States of America decided to withdraw the security forces in Afghanistan. When, for example, 9/11 happened, the president then, the September 9/11, decided to put stringent security laws. When going to America at the time, you would be subjected to a lot of torture. They would call it enhanced security surveillance process. You would believe that America, being a powerhouse of democracy, has transformed into an anarchist society. You would be taken into a room, given water so that you can drink, and they will tell you to give your urine in a cabotro there, and then they will, just because they are doing an enhanced security surveillance process. Those ones were decisions that have over time been overtaken by time, and they were put into law so that they can cure problems that were happening then. But another thing, today, Africans and black people are suffering because of certain policies and laws that were made by the American government. Bush is long gone. It is the current president now, maybe to come and apologize on behalf of the state on the tribulations that people are going through because of some of these laws, or come and change some of these specific laws to suit the circumstances of modern day world.
Here is where I differ. In America, yeah, you could have seen the circumstances. In this country, no. We only see the people who are on the opposing side.
I was drawing a contrast.
Yeah, I get it, and I get the contrast.
I want you to understand the contrast here is because of what happened in 2007, and now
I totally get it. They were justified, violence. So they were justified to have those laws because of the terror attack.
Let me tell you, when
you're not listening to me, though.
Let me tell you, anything that has, and I told you the state has legitimate power in violence and all these other things, but nothing justifies a situation whereby a Kenyan who is innocent is going to suffer at the hand of these laws. And so within the construct of a state, this is much theoretical more than what happens.
Here's what you're forgetting. When these laws are passed, they are passed because of a certain kind of people in mind. And it's political. And when they are passed, they are therefore applied to the people who are in mind at that time.
And that is a mistake.
And that time, Akina Murkomen were not on the receiving end. So those laws were passed and they were in the favor of not being on the receiving end. Yes. But right now, who's in the receiving end? Them. So why is it so hard for him to then come out and say, you know what, I believed what I believed then because of those circumstances, but I believe what I believe now, and I think it was wrong, and I am sorry for supporting that bill because it was not a bill that was progressive or constructive. And it's not just the politicians who are suffering at that.
And by the way,
that security bill is the whole reason why young people are dying.
In a law that threatens the peaceful coexistence of Kenyans, or which threatens the lives of Kenyans, is a law that must be removed from our nation. And I agree that people make mistakes. There are people who have made certain mistakes, including some of those security bills. But existing norms, traditions and cultures within the Republic of Kenya is that we are not static. As time goes, we can always have a look at certain laws which do not suit the circumstances of what we are going through at the moment. And so I agree that in the past as a country, we have made mistakes, we've made blunders, and we need to take and correct ourselves and correct some of these things. So nothing justifies suffers at the hand of the state.
Yeah. Okay. So as we wrap up, just take a minute to give us your tackle of the day, like your final word, and then we are going to close.
I think that and because MUCHENDU has left, I want to assure our people, especially from the Mount Kenya region, that there is no confusion there, and that the status quo still remains, that the deputy president is still the region's favorite for 2022, and so let nobody be worried by Raila Odinga going to Kegumo. He can make as many rounds as he wants, but his fate for 2022, like it has always been, is already sealed. We are going this time round to beat him with a 60% in the national tally, and in the Mount Kenya region, he's not going to garner the votes that he got in 2017. We will ensure that we defeat him in areas that he had quite a number of votes in the swing areas. So as we move forward as a country, the Hustler Nation has always been strong than ever. We are willing to engage all Kenyans. We will continue pursuing the agenda that seeks to bring solutions to the people of Kenya and their livelihoods. We insist on the particular point that the economy is the most pressing challenge that we have at the moment. That's why in our bottom-up economic model, we have envisioned to tackle these challenges and bring a solution that will go beyond just this government. In this coming transition, we seek to have a peaceful one. The people of Kenya will have to be given an opportunity without any propaganda or confusion in the next less than 340 days. The election will not be postponed. We must go to elections on the day that has been gazetted. I also ask IEBC to fasten their processes and prepare enough, and also be ready to cure some of the challenges that we had in 2017. We must have a credible, transparent, free and fair election that the people of Kenya will express what we have been telling the Republic. I think that now going forward, more than ever, let the people continue with the conversation at the grassroots. Mm-hmm. That is where the vote is. Our colleagues can continue doing retreats and seminars in Naivasha, but we continue engaging Kenyans on matters that matter. We are not for power, we are for empowerment. We are not for constitutional change, we are for economic change. And these causes, and mostly for the young people, we have a solution to the problems of joblessness that the young people face in this country. Our candidate, the Deputy President, has a very good heart for Kenya, and he has the interest of Kenya at heart. We believe that God and heavens has already blessed this union between hustlers and the Deputy President, and he's going to ratify that on the 8th of August in 2022. To the listeners and viewers, until when we meet again, I say thank you very much for being our audience, and goodbye. I end by a quote and saying, for the youth folk of this country, let it be that in the long years to come, not only will the people of this country, but the citizens of the world, wherever the bird of freedom chirps in human hearts, look back to what we did, and they will say, we will not yield, we will not be discouraged, we will march straight forward in courage and determination. This was a statement by the wartime leader of all time, Winston Churchill, when Europe was free in 1945. Asante sana.
Asante sana Kariuki. Want to thank Gerald for this amazing platform. Naona conversation hapo kwa comment section imeshika, and I'm noticing that there's a bit of confusion on the National Security Council. I think its components and its role. And also there's a confusion about the security bill. So I'm hoping maybe on Friday, our wakilis on Sharia Wiki hii will help us to understand these two aspects. I think that are very important in our continued discussion as we go on. It's been fun hosting this show for these past 2 days. It's been quite the experience. So Gerald is the good mentor, best mentor ever, and I'm really, really grateful. I have a challenge to, I'm actually, not a challenge, I'm actually sending you out there in the spirit of patriotism, since you're already engaged in the political scene that is currently in this country. I would like you to go and advocate for peace out there. even as you campaign and you advocate for the hustler, kindly let people know that it's okay for us to have different choices. It's okay for us to support different people. It doesn't mean that we have to be enemies. And if the person you support doesn't win, we don't have to fight. We live to fight another day. We just don't fight for blood and physically. So guys, let's keep the Kenyan patriotic spirit going. Kindly think about what it means to be Kenyan to you. Being Kenyan to me means being able to relate with the people who are next to me, being able to empathize with the people who are next to me, being able to feel their pain, being able to share in their joy, and just living a good life generally. So be good to your neighbor. Remember, your neighbor is not your enemy, and we all love you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. I hope to see you again next week. Bye-bye for now.